Cuba is becoming a bigger part of BRICS. This gives Cuba advantages beyond just business. It helps Cuba's standing in the world. But what will Cuba's role be in this group of up-and-coming economies? People in Washington are worried. They're concerned that their financial blockades aren't working as well as they used to. That's because by joining BRICS, Cuba can do business more freely without being affected by outside pressure. Also, Cuba doesn't have to rely on other countries to trade for them. They can trade directly with other growing economies. Cuba joining BRICS has made things tense at the White House. Cuba joining BRICS means it doesn't have to depend on other countries anymore. For a long time, Cuba had to rely on others to get through tough economic times. This was made worse by the sanctions the United States put on them. Now, as a direct partner in BRICS, Cuba can make business deals that can really help its economy grow. This group gives Cuba unique opportunities. It can help Cuba grow in areas like energy, technology, science, agriculture, and manufacturing. This progress builds on shared experiences and frequent contact with other BRICS members. Some people wonder if Cuba can really contribute to BRICS, but Cuba is in a great spot in the Caribbean. This makes it a perfect link for moving goods around. Plus, China and Russia support Cuba joining BRICS. This strengthens the economies of countries that aren't aligned with Western powers. This group effort aims to create an alternative to Western control in global organizations like the IMF and the G7. Cuba is also known for things like healthcare, sports, and biotechnology. These could help Cuba become a more important member of BRICS. BRICS represents a quarter of the world's economy. It also has almost half of the world's population. By joining, Cuba gets to go to important global events. This opens up new opportunities for working with other countries and for trade. Joining BRICS also allows for the sustainable use of natural resources. It also helps Cuba trade with more diverse partners. When it comes to business, Cuba could sell more of its products like sugar, tobacco, citrus fruits, coffee, rice, vegetables, and beef to other countries. Industry makes up 18% of Cuba's exports. The service sector contributes 80% of its GDP. Both of these have a lot of potential to grow. This new situation would allow Cuba to find direct buyers for its products. It would also boost sectors like agriculture and fishing, which currently make up 2% of Cuba's GDP. Cuba could also try new ways to improve how its people get goods and services. Right now, the government and state-owned companies control a lot of the economy. Cuba has a lot of natural resources. It could become a key supplier for companies from BRICS countries. Recently, Cuba exported $275 million worth of tobacco. It also exported $163 million worth of nickel products, and it exported $127 million worth of zinc. Its main buyers are China, Spain, Germany, Portugal, and Switzerland. These results place Cuba at number 70 in the world ranking of emerging economies out of 196 nations. Cuba could also explore new opportunities in sustainable mining. This is an area where Cuba has a lot of potential but hasn't fully explored yet. It could benefit from working with other BRICS members and learning from their technology and investments. BRICS could help Cuba become stronger in the global marketplace. At the same time, Russia and China are increasing their influence in a region that's strategically important to the United States because it's so close. Russia's support could help bring tourists back to Cuba. It could also help solve Cuba's energy problems by providing more fuel. Cuba is a leader in its region. This helps make sure that cooperation within BRICS is fair and that everyone is working towards the same goals. Working together on infrastructure projects could help modernize Cuba's ports and transportation systems. This would make Cuba more competitive in global trade. Being part of BRICS also makes it easier for Cuba to create business laws that will attract foreign investors. For example, Cuba could partner with countries that need a lot of nickel, like Brazil. They could create joint ventures to develop nickel mines in areas like Moa and Camagüey. These partnerships could also extend to biotechnology, taking advantage of the experience of Brazilian companies in this field. Brazil could also invest in poultry production with Cuban producers. This would increase the availability of meat and eggs, which are essential foods in both countries. Tourism is one of Cuba's main sources of income. Investors from India and South Africa are looking for new places in the Caribbean to invest. This could really benefit Cuba's tourism industry. Cuba is on its way to becoming less dependent on the United States. The US has had a strong hold on Cuba for over 65 years. This process began with the Cuban Revolution in 1959. After that, the US imposed a trade embargo on Cuba. For decades, this policy has made it hard for Cuba to access international markets, technology, and financing. This forced Cuba to look for other options, like partnering with the former Soviet Union and now BRICS. This new situation could help counter the effects of laws like the Helms-Burton Act. This law makes it difficult for US companies to do business with Cuba. BRICS could also create opportunities for Cuba's growing private sector. For example, Cuban businesses could partner with companies from India and other BRICS countries in areas like construction. China has a lot of experience with sustainable urban planning. Cuba could learn from China's example to improve housing and transportation in its major cities. In conclusion, Cuba joining BRICS is a huge opportunity for the country to overcome its economic challenges. This partnership not only allows Cuba to expand its markets, but also to establish fair and sustainable trade relationships. For example, an alliance with Brazil could strengthen Cuba's sugar industry. Brazil could provide loans to improve sugar mills, and Cuba could repay those loans with sugar production. Agreements with South Africa could include exporting bioproducts, an area where Cuba has made significant progress. Cuba joining BRICS is a dream come true for the Cuban people. This group represents half of the world's population and contributes 36.8% of the global GDP, which is more than the G7. This step strengthens Cuba's position on the world stage, opening a new chapter of growth and economic cooperation.